How many of you have heard of parkour? How many of you actually know what parkour is? As far as the majority of the internet is concerned, parkour involves kids eating shit, death-defying stunts on rooftops, and the office meetings.
Parkour! Get off! Get off! Okay.
Storyblog is the single largest reaching pro parkour team on the planet and has been absolutely killing it on YouTube. After years of consistent content, they broke 1 million subs back in 2018, and as of the making of this video, they've gained over 6.7 million subscribers. For a parkour team, that's a huge number. In fact, as far as I know, they're the only parkour team with over 1 million subs on all of YouTube. So thanks to these lads, people we tend to refer to as muggles are starting to learn what parkour actually is. It's not just stupid stunts, it's hours of dedication to training, physical well-being, learning acute bodily function, and for a lot of us, fostering a community of rad people. Now, what does this have to do with video games? Well, a whole lot actually. Store, being in the position they're in, have announced that they are working on the world's first pure parkour video game. Oh, well, what about Mirror's Edge, you ask? Guns, dude. We don't do parkour with guns and fistfights. Yes, Mirror's Edge has a lot of legitimate parkour mechanics, but it's not purely a parkour experience. Think of it like this. You ever played Skate before? This is a skateboarding game through and through. Now, what if they had a skate game with guns and sword fights where skateboarding was more or less just a means of transportation? It kind of misses the points of being a skateboarding game. Yes, there is skateboarding involved, but it is no longer a pure skateboarding experience. Now, I think Store is using the term pure parkour in a little bit of a different way than I'm used to. And to be fair, at this point, we're not sure where this game is going to land on the parkour versus freerunning spectrum, but to help explain it all to you muggles out there, I've brought in a special guest. Everyone, please welcome Raviolispills. Hey, Ravioli, thanks for having me. Of course, thanks for being here. No, you know what? Never mind. This joke is stupid. Just watch this clip. Let's think of parkour on a scale. On one end of the spectrum, there is pure parkour. This is basically the practical and efficient side of things. Pure parkour uses skills that best suit the situation to get through an environment as quickly, smoothly, and efficiently as possible. On the other side of the spectrum is freerunning. Freerunning is what muggles tend to see the most, considering it looks way more dangerous, cool, and flashy. Freerunning is still getting from point A to point B, but doing so as creatively as possible, aka doing cool flips and shit. So hopefully that helps explain things a bit. Store is working on a game that involves parkour and only parkour, no combat and extra junk. I'm assuming it'll be a good mix of pure parkour like we just talked about and free running, but the main point seems to be to recreate the experience of real-life parkour in video game format. This is a huge deal for the parkour community, as many of us have been wanting a game like this for years. Something that can be the Tony Hawk Pro Skater of our preferred sport. And this leads me to my main point of the video. Stop calling platformers parkour games. It seems like the term parkour in the gaming sphere has become a sort of buzzword to help people sell their movement mechanics in their games. This, at a surface level, makes a lot of sense. Parkour, at its root, is just efficient movement. So yeah, games like Mirror's Edge and Assassin's Creed and even Dying Light could fall under the parkour genre if we're looking at it that way. These games all use real-life parkour skills in a simple format like jumping gaps, rolling out of landings, and wall runs. No, not that kind of wall run. I'm talking real wall runs, which are actually just well-timed jumps with an extra push off of a wall to propel you upwards. The wall runs you see in a lot of video games aren't even totally possible in real life. Like, the most you can get is 2 steps running along a wall with a push outwards at the end, giving the illusion of a 3rd step. Unless the wall is slanted, there's no way to really get any more than 3 steps that are actually useful. This is yet another thing construing the definition of what parkour is. Popular media just decides to make up moves and tell everyone that this is in fact parkour. But anyways, using the word parkour in the way most games do is like putting wheels on a 2x4 and calling it skateboarding. Skateboarding isn't just rolling around on a plank of wood, there's a culture to it, a mindset, and not to mention tons of tricks that require tons of skill and dedication. I dare you to tell a skateboarder that your longboard is a skateboard too. If we're going by this logic, then Apex Legends is a parkour game. Mario is a parkour game. Even Final Fantasy 15 would have parkour elements because you can vault over ledges. So calling your platformer that involves running on walls and around obstacles a parkour game kind of just further confuses the definition. People see parkour as an internet trend, a borderline meme if you will, and a game mechanic that involves fluid movement options. To us within the parkour community, or at least to me, That's super frustrating. It's almost like video game parkour and real life parkour are just two separate entities at this point. Yeah, they are similar, but not necessarily synonymous. So this new gaming definition of parkour at this point is kind of eclipsing the real life sport, and along with all these stunt climb and security escape videos online, the general perception of parkour is that it's dangerous and involves skills and challenges that the majority of parkour people don't actually do. In the almost 11 years I've been part of the parkour community, I've put in tons of work to help grow the knowledge base of the sport. But it feels like there hasn't been very much growth in the general pool of knowledge regarding the legitimate definition of parkour. There was even tons of debate within the community in the early days trying to define what it is. Is it a sport, a martial art, just a means of exercise? Some even argued it was like a religion of sorts. We've got the definition down pat nowadays, and most of us can explain it in a simple and easy way for people to understand, but most muggles still tend to shout hardcore parkour at us as they walk by, not realizing how much work and concentration it takes to do what we can do. So with all this said, I wanted to do an experiment and see if random people knew what parkour is, and if they could give me a proper explanation of it. Being 2020 and COVID, my only option was to turn to Omegle. Have you heard of parkour before?
Yes, I have.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm Dutch, so
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Of what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now can you give me an explanation of what it is?
Well, it's like
It's kind of hard to explain. I'm not because
I think it's like a martial art.
no idiot.
People who can do flips. Like I know what it is, but it's hard to explain.
It's like gymnastics, I guess.
Jumping from roof to roof in places, yeah, and doing like flips and stuff.
It's where people jump up like buildings to like ledges and stuff.
I've heard it described as like an art of movement almost, of like just moving the human body in different ways. It's just kind of like the flow between different moves and shit, right?
Yeah, no, that's actually like a really good answer.
It's pretty much dangerous stunts.
Basically, where stunt devils do crazy things.
Getting from point A to point B by any means, I guess.
it's like people jumping around dangerous places.
Basically, people jumping and running off a building.
Some people like it hardcore, I think.
Diving on land.
Like jumping around, doing backflips, jumping on buildings, stuff like that.
Do you know what parkour is? So, as you can see from my few hours of refreshing Omegle, what's up, man? Okay. Surviving penis jump scares. How's it going? Okay, that was a fuck. I just came from like a 50-year-old dude jacking it. Pretty rad. Please kill me. And asking people if they could define it, not a whole lot of them could give me a proper answer of what parkour is.
Yeah.
They know of it,
Yes,
but
sir.
the common conception is that it's just doing crazy stunts on rooftops, which like, yeah, that's a part of it, but these crazy and dangerous stunts take years of practice to be able to attempt them and hours of preparation before the actual jump itself. The internet portrays parkour as this reckless sport for adrenaline junkies when in reality it's a discipline based around progression, efficiency, and safe movement. An incredible example of this is Storer's film Roof Culture Asia. I highly recommend watching it to learn more about the effort that goes into doing these roof jumps. On the internet you just see the results, you don't actually see all the time and preparation it took to be able to actually do these big crazy jumps. But anyways, back to my main point. So already people are getting the wrong idea about parkour from YouTube and other media, and now gaming is adding to the misconception by labeling every game with a cool double jump a parkour game. Do you see why this frustrates me? I'm all for fluid movement in games. Being able to run and jump and climb with ease is definitely fun and is no doubt reminiscent of parkour. But the main differing factor is there are tons of proper techniques and actual named skills involved that make parkour what it is. It's not just jumping and climbing. Did you know that when you land a jump and you stick your landing, it's called a precision? Or that there are several different vaults like Kongs, dashes, lazies, and reverse vaults that all have different practical applications depending on what movement you decide to do before or after them. So yes, I am mad that I keep getting clickbaited by games that say they have parkour mechanics only to find out that they mean smooth movement and not actual parkour influence. I guess what my main point is that parkour is very misunderstood by the masses. Nearly all popular media, movies, television, YouTube videos, and video games all for the most part misrepresent what parkour is at its core. So what Stora is doing is such a fresh breath of air. To finally be presented with a video game that uses parkour in its literal sense has been far too long coming, and if anyone can pull it off, it's the Stora boys. This game could be a huge push forwards towards educating the general public on parkour, which could mean we might be able to finally make it in the mainstream and actually be able to make careers out of it, much like skateboarding is today. But I guess until then, game devs will have to keep calling their creative movement options, for lack of a better term, parkour. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a big shout out to those of you I chatted with on Omegle, and an even bigger shout out to those of you that asked about my channel and subscribed. I really appreciate it. I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're a parkour athlete, do you agree with what I'm saying here? And if you're not a parkour athlete, did you learn something from this video, and did this change your view on what parkour is? Thanks for watching, I'll meet you down in the comments, and I will see you next time.